I guess my most favorite memories were going to the Friday night dances or the midnight dances. So Friday nights in the summer, once school got out, usually after May 24th weekend, the dances started. And we all had summer jobs. A bunch of us girls used to work on Fridays. My parents went away to their trailer, so the girls would all come to our place. And we would wash our hair in the sink and put our curlers in. We all had our own hair dryers, get our hair all ready to go. So we'd all be ready for 9 o'clock to go to the dances at the Pavilion.
I attended it on the occasion when my father would grace me with 25 cents. I could get 3 dances for 25 cents.
The Tweed Pavilion was the focal point of social life for all of us when we were growing up in Tweed from the age of about 14 until we left town. It was everything on Friday night to go to the Pavilion.
Think of some of the memories over here at the Pavilion. The Tweed Pavilion as well as the Tweed High School were the focal points for young people growing up here, at least in my time in the 60s and 70s.
And then we at the Pavilion, mainly the early ones were boys who didn't have girlfriends, and they would always ask us to dance. And our boyfriends would be out probably cruising around or cruising through the park. And then about 11:15 or so, they'd decide to come to the dance. And that's when we'd all sit down, say thank you to the people we were dancing with, and wait for our boyfriends to ask us to dance.
That's even where I met my wife, Joanne. Her family had a cottage on Stokoe Lake, and she attended the dances, and sort of caught one another's eye back then in those days in the 60s.
There was, unlike the Pavilion as it is today, there was inside there was a place about 5 feet all around the arena, except where the orchestra played up at the front there, the stage, and there was only one gate into it, and there was a man there with I don't recall who it was, but he took your, and believe it or not, it was tickets. They'd give you 3 tickets.
Okay.
And you go through the gate, and he would take the ticket and put it in a box. Everybody called it a jitney box, I think. And with your partner, and you danced. And there were, I think, 3 tunes.
Oh, okay.
And then you left, and the floor was cleared, and after a bit of a rest, and possibly sometimes the orchestra would go out for a little.
Yeah.
And then they'd start up again, various tunes of the day.
But I think Friday night coming here was the ultimate for teenagers. The band playing here at the time was the Modernaires, and I think I can remember some of the names. Fred Lemke, Cecilia Rivers, Stan McCall, and Staff Mira, who they were all-time favorites. I think one of my best memories of coming to a dance here was Cecilia playing the piano one night, and half the piano fell through the stage, so that kind of put a damper on things until people got together and raised the piano up and moved it over.
As you walked up the ramp going into the stairs into the Pavilion, Mother was at the head of the stairs selling tickets, and she was sort of everyone's chaperone and looked after everyone's interests there. And it really wasn't obtrusive, or it didn't bother me that it was my mother that was there, because she just let people be who they were. If I was misbehaving too badly, I heard about it Saturday morning. But she was an institution there for I don't know how many years, but a lot of years. All the years I went there was Mother at the top of the stairs selling tickets.
Phyllis Thurston took the money at the top of the steps to the pavilion. No one got by her unless you paid. And she would always kind of stick her head out too to see who was drinking and who wasn't.
The pavilion has been a very important part of Tweed and the young people of Tweed. And they had dances every Wednesday night, and we came down and made fools of ourselves half the time. But it was a great, great time. As years went by, it became deteriorated and a lot of work had to be done. And a good friend of mine, Steve Hunter, who is no longer with us, decided we would try and fix the place up.
Stephen Hunter was the one that decided to initiate the restoration of that pavilion. And there were three reasons why the group that I'm talking about joined in. One, because Steve asked us. Two, because we found out that the pavilion was going to fall into the lake because it was leaning. And three, because there was only one other pavilion in all of Ontario that was also still standing. The ironic thing about it is that that other pavilion, as we were doing the restorations, burnt down. So this is the only pavilion left in Ontario.
In the last 10 years or so, the pavilion's been a big part of some of the groups that I've been involved in. So, for example, with Friends of Stokewell Lake, we had one of our community workshops for the sustainability plan in the pavilion. And we've been doing a project with Community Conservation with the enhanced shoreline planting to the east and along with Kiwanis. So we've done work there over the years. I've also become a Kiwanis in the last couple of years, and the chicken barbecues there every year, which I've gone to probably every year since I've been around. And I know Kiwanis has been involved for about 20 years, pretty involved in the renovations, etc. of the pavilion.
There was never any trouble in the pavilion. Everybody just went for the music and the dancing. And although you could always count on an intermission either at the midnight dances or the Friday night dances. They'd have intermissions because we had live bands. And there would quite often be a fight break out. Either Marmora against Tweed or Madoc against Tweed. Sometimes it would take place right on the beach. Other times it'd be over in the baseball diamond. Once they started the music again, everybody back in the pavilion.
Another memory I have is of John Reed had just bought a brand new Cougar. And of course everybody that came to the dance had a cooler of beer in the back of the trunk. The authorities weren't that vigilant at that time. But he had a park just this side of the pavilion. And we all went in and we were having a great time. And somebody came running in saying there's a car in the lake. And we all ran out and John's brand new Cougar was in the lake and we could just see about 1 foot of the top of the car. So that kind of changed the whole climate that evening. We got a tow truck and it was towed down to Bob Woods' garage and sat there for 2 days, dried out. And on Monday morning, they turned the key and it ran.
I, all through high school, worked at the Tweed IGA. It's since moved 2 buildings over to the Tweed Value Mart now. And Friday night, I always worked till 8 or 9 o'clock, sometimes a little later, stocking shelves for the next morning. Zip on home, fast shower, right to the pavilion. We didn't miss a Friday night.
Thanks, Larry. Oh, and in 2000 and 2001, the Restoration Committee, made up of these great gentlemen and Steve Hunter, made application or wanted to make application for Trillium grant funding. But to do that, they required a sponsor organization, and that turned out, to make a long story short, to be the Kiwanis Club of Tweed. So that our name appeared on the application for funding. That funding was approved, and as a result, we worked with the Restoration Committee then to make some other pretty significant changes, including the installation of the washrooms, rewiring of the building, and some other things that contributed to it being what it is today. Over the years then, we took over the management. We entered into a lease agreement with the municipality of Tweed.
We enjoyed doing it, even though it was summertime. It's hot in there. Anyway, when the cement was finally poured, over in number 9, which is over towards the west end, I put my name and the date in it, and that's cement. So if that pavilion ever falls down, there'll be a monument to Mail and Clark.
Yeah, I like from a child, I remember the pavilion being there and going to Memorial Park for Remembrance Day and all of those things. And it's such a special building in our community, and it really is an asset, not only for us in doing many events there every season, but all the other groups that use the building. It's unlike anywhere I've ever performed in the country. Like, it's just such a beautiful spot right on the water in an old historic building like that. It's so rare, and most other of those dance pavilions have been torn down and don't exist anymore. So we're so lucky as a community to have that building, and we're so grateful as a company to Kiwanis for maintaining that building and keeping that history alive. It's so important and so special.
I know it's easy to take for granted some of the things that you have in your community, but it is really something unique and special, and so keep involved in it and enjoy it and go out to events there.
Besides the fact that Tweed Dance Pavilion still exists in 2019, it's unique in that, as far as I have been able to determine in my research over the last 10 years, it's the last one of its kind, of its type, in existence in Ontario. And in fact, I believe it's one of only 2 remaining of this architectural style in Canada.
The Tweed Pavilion was the Hastings County mecca for teenagers for rock and roll music. It was really quite something.
I wish we could go back there. That was fun, and it was
So there was one they struck up, which was it was a popular song. It was called 5'2", and I don't know whether I was persuaded or just bold enough to go up there and take the mic and sing, but I said, 5'2", eyes of blue, what those 5 feet could do. Has anybody seen my girl? You know, turned up nose, rolled down hose, flapper, yes, or one of those. Has anybody seen my girl? Or I guess it was girl or gal maybe. Now if you run into 5'2", covered with furs, diamond rings and all those things, you can bet your life it wasn't her. Could she woo? Could she woo? Could she coo? Could she? Oh dear.
just thanks to the Kiwanis to keep the place going. It's wonderful that we have it there for all the different venues that they have, and I appreciate it as a citizen of Tweed.
Visit the municipality of Tweed. Explore our backyard in the municipality of Tweed. Visit the municipality of Tweed.